So I'll be completely honest. Now, I loved the first Equalizer movie. A little too strong for my stomach, but I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. Phenomenal. That's the word, I swear. Saw the second one to the Equalizer and I was like, first one was better. The third one kind of snuck up on us. Now, at my local event cinemas, they only have one poster up, and they put the poster up maybe 2-3 weeks before the cinema release. I've only seen the trailer probably 2 weeks before the cinema release, and now that I finally have a day off, I can see the movie. Now let me be completely honest, I know the American film industry, WGA and SAG-AFTRA are currently in the middle of a strike. I do support them, and I wholeheartedly wish that they get what they deserve. But I also want to support the film community as best as I can and encourage more films to come out, and make sure we still have a cinema standing strong. That was probably a really bad choice of words, isn't it? I'm so sorry. I sound like a freaking hypocrite. Anyway, here is my opinion of The Equalizer 3. Returning to the lead role of Robert McCall, Denzel Washington has shifted his attention to Italy. After the way the sequel had ended, McCall has switched from government assassin to free-reign assassin by protecting the mafia. Well, I felt quite underwhelmed with that storyline. Now, at the beginning of the video, I said that Robert McCall was protecting the mafia. Turns out my little intel was incorrect. Robert McCall is against the mafia, one man against a family. Maybe a family and a bit though. He's trying to protect this small community of Italians who are peaceful, who are just trying to go on with their day. Unfortunately, they're under the control of the mafia and need to pay to have protection. Obviously, with Robert being there, he's like, hey, this isn't right, let me fix the problem. Look, it's a good story, but it's very underwhelming. Like, in the first movie, I absolutely loved it. The action sequences, yes, were a little too strong for my stomach, but hey, you set it in a hardware store. In a store like Bunnings Warehouse. I don't know what the equivalent of that is in America, but like, you set it in a hardware store. You just let yourself kind of improvise, so to speak, on what you're going to use against the bad guys. Then in the sequel, it was you trying to reminisce on the past, trying to close the chapter, so to speak. And then in the third one, it's like, well, retirement's here. Well, I want to live a piece of quietness. It's like, okay, but Robert McCall didn't feel needed in his own story, which is quite frustrating, because like, when he was on screen, it felt like a different movie. But yet it focused more on domestic terrorism. It focused more on police that felt underwhelming. Because you've got the American CIA, you've got the Italian police. And look, I can understand the Italian police being in the storyline, but I couldn't really understand the American CIA being in the storyline. But I mean, with the story including domestic terrorism, alright, fine, but... And look, I kind of got frustrated because for maybe like the first 60-75% of the storyline, Robert is incapacitated. He's wounded. He's recovering. All we do is watch him interact with the locals. All we do is watch him try and find a rhythm while being the outsider. And then in the last, 30%, it kind of picks up. But this is what I kind of missed. As I admitted, the first one had the perfect amount of action. It made me really squeamish. It gave me kind of like really cool ideas on how like you can use a hardware store. Whereas this one, it's like, okay, well, the action happens off screen. And I'm like, dude, are you serious? Like, the whole gist of it is that you show us how incredibly over the top you can be with your bloody, murderous action scenes. Instead, it's like, alright, gunshot, but it's off screen. Alright, car crash, but we see the aftermath. Alright, a hanging. Okay, cool. That was clever-ish, I think. But I didn't see the point of that one. So I felt like there was just too many characters, too much storyline going on. Like, you had the American police trying to figure out the domestic terrorism in Italy, while the Italian police are trying to cover up some aspects, because obviously the Mafia are paying them off, and then Robert's just there just kind of like enjoying his holiday, and I'm like, where's the guy from the first movie? Where's the guy from the first movie? I want the first movie guy. I want the guy who was like, you wanna go toe to toe? Let's do it. I mean, look, Robert still had his smart ass quips, and I loved that, but it just didn't feel like the Equalizer. And I know that this is based on a TV show, and I know that I haven't seen the TV show. I also know that the TV show got rebooted, if I remember correctly. Queen Latifah was in it, but I didn't watch it. So, I don't know, I felt disappointed because it felt very underwhelming, and I felt like it could have been a lot better. But I don't know, it just felt like too many characters, too many storylines, and not enough saving on what Robert could do with his storyline. Instead, it was like, well, let's everyone else have a party, and he can just sit there drinking his tea. So yeah, I got really disappointed. I'm sorry, but disappointment. I'm scared to see the second one because I love the first one just like you. Do you mean like the third one, or do you mean like the second one? Because the third one's literally just come out in cinemas, and the second one's been out for a few years now. Also, mind the fact that I'm actually comfy in bed. It's 3 p.m. on a Sunday. I'm feeling incredibly lazy today. So, if I remember correctly, because it has been only once that I've seen the second Equalizer, I personally didn't like it. I don't know, I feel like if you call back to the past too many times, it kind of feels underwhelming. Particularly since how high the first movie was. Like, the first movie went full on. Like, the first movie was top notch, above expectations. It was amazing. And then you see the second one, and it kind of just went, you're there, but I didn't like you. Whereas the third one, it's like, look, you're good, but very underwhelming. So yeah, I definitely appreciate the first one a lot more when it comes to the Equalizer. I don't know, I think for me, when it comes to action movies, if your first action movie in this franchise, in the sequels, in the trilogy, whatever, is top notch, I'm going to go into every movie and expect high expectations in your franchise. I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh yeah, the first one's epic, I'm going to put my expectations as a 1. Like, no, I'm going to be like, okay, your first one was a 10, I want a 10 all across the board. Not a 10, 5, and a, what the hell was that number? You know, like, you get what I mean? So, I don't know, I feel like I don't want to discourage people from seeing it, because it's obviously the cinema and we want to support cinema as much as we can. But, I don't know, there's just, I don't know, I think because there's not enough action, and as I mentioned in my video, it felt like they didn't know what to do with Robert McCall, and I'm like, are you serious? Like, this is his story, and you don't know what to do with your own character? Which was really disheartening, because I'm like, it's his story, why is he pushed to the side? I didn't get a lot of things, but also, I went in with high expectations. I probably shouldn't have gone in with high expectations. So, I mean, see it. Definitely see the second one, though. Because I think it calls back. I'm not sure. I know that Denzel Washington is the only one to appear in all 3 movies. But there's a photo that's seen... Sorry, there's spoilers. There's a photo that's seen in the last-ish scene, I think. Apparently has a really nice connection. But I don't know, because I don't recognize anybody else but Denzel Washington in that movie. Also, that probably doesn't help the movie. If the only character to go through all 3 movies is your main character, maybe that's what you're losing, because you don't have anyone else for him to float against. Like, it's just Denzel Washington carrying all 3 movies, and none of the other characters were there for the rest of the journey. And I get that the whole point of Robert McCall is that he's a solo character, and then, you know, he plays by his own rules, but like, okay, cool, yeah. But anyway, that's my opinion. Just, when you go see it, just lower your expectations. That's the only advice I can give you, is lower your expectations.